What's up, guys? Welcome to TFGoose Gaming. I'm TFGoose here with Vendetta, and it's time to kick off a new series. Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hearthstone. Yeah, we've been playing this game a bunch lately, guys, and we wanted to do a deck builder series for you. This is going to be a little different. We want to give you 2 decks per class per video. One of them is going to be kind of a lower to mid-budget deck with, mostly commons and, a few rares sprinkled in, but no epics and no legendaries. And then a little bit later in the video, we're going to switch over and show you kind of a uber high budget version of the deck and go with it like that and kind of talk about each card as we go along while we show you some gameplay with each deck. So, sound like a plan? I think that's good.
I think that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, why not, right? So, but as always, guys, please keep in mind, though, too, these are not, end-all, be-all versions of these decks, that we say, oh, my God, you have to play it this way. The beauty of this game is you can mix and match and tweak and everything and have a ball and realize that the game is going to change over time. This just happens to be what we're using right now and having some success with it, so we wanted to share it with you. So,
yeah. Without further ado.
Ha! See? Jinx. Let's get started with the first card in our budget deck is Hand of Protection. And just got a single copy of this guy in here. I stuck this in on my deck just because it changes the math a lot, when you're doing a trade. And it can be a surprise, oops, for your opponent. That guy, I didn't expect him to have Divine Shield, and all of a sudden there it is, So yeah. I kind of dig the card.
Yeah, it's an okay card. I think it will give you a favorable trade when otherwise there wouldn't be one. So it's good for that.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing crazy, but it's fun and, it's free. So, yeah.
Moving on, I think we're going to talk about Noble Sacrifice, one of my...
Get down! My favorite.
One of my favorite cards in the Paladin deck. It's a secret. It anytime your board is attacked, it deploys a 2-for-1, and just an amazing card.
Yeah, really, really strong. I like this one a lot. I know some others, don't run it, but... if you play it early, it tends to save one of your early game creatures. Played late, it can do the same thing, and immediately your opponent has to play around it, because they almost always know what it is. But still, it's a fun card, and I enjoy it. Next up, just a super common card. Everybody's got it, Acidic Swamp Ooze. I carry 2 copies of these in my decks generally, and it's just beautiful. 3/2 creature for 2 is already good, just for stats alone. And also the ability to blow up an opponent's weapon is great, to have versus obviously, warriors and rogues and even shamans, the occasional hunter, and of course paladins. So being able to blow up a weapon is great, but even if you can't, it's a solid body.
Should point out that besides like Harrison Jones, that's the only card in the game that can destroy a weapon.
True story. Yeah, good point.
So moving on to one of your personal favorites, the Argent Protector.
Oh, yeah, I dig this card.
It's a good card. I wasn't a big fan at first, but you kind of convinced me with some of your gameplay that it is better than I was giving it credit for.
Yeah, again, being able to sort of surprise Divine Shield, a minion is really nice. And again, it's useful early game, it's useful late game, it's useful for protecting creatures that would otherwise die to, say, an upcoming board wipe. If you got a Flame Strike coming, you can pop that on a guy or two, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now you can't clear everything immediately, So, beautiful card. I really like it. I'd love it more if it had 3 attack, but, oh well.
I think with the Divine Shield, you're already getting enough value for 2 mana.
Exactly. So, with that, move on to, again, one of my other favorite cards. This is a common card, the Fairy Dragon. These were actually the first 2 cards that I crafted from Dust.
Really?
Yeah, it was the Fairy Dragon. This guy... I can't think of many reasons why you wouldn't want this guy in virtually every deck, just because they're excellent early game creatures. They can't be targeted by any removal spells that are direct, which is all an opponent's going to have towards the beginning of the game. So the only way they go out is by trading creatures or being hit with a weapon.
Yeah, for common cards, that's probably my most favorite card in the game. They wreck Priest because they can't target them with their removal, only, because they only have 3 attack. They would normally be vulnerable to some of the removal spells.
Yeah, Shadow or Pain, yeah. But as it stands, yeah, Fairy Dragon farms Priests. I love them.
Going on to Knife Juggler, another excellent 2-drop.
Yeah, fantastic 2-drop card here, and especially in a Paladin deck, right?
Yeah, because you have your hero ability is to summon a 1/1 recruit, which paired with the Knife Juggler is just extra damage. You can keep peppering in those attacks, and 1 damage doesn't sound like a lot, but it really does make a big difference.
Yeah, really, really strong card. This is a rare. If you guys don't have one of these, you know, feel free to pop in another solid 2-drop card, you know, but there's really nothing that replaces the utility, unfortunately, of Knife Juggler just because of that dagger. But still, you know, a solid card and certainly worth looking for when you're opening packs or considering a craft.
Absolutely.
So,
my personal favorite coming up here is Divine Favor. This is some of the most powerful card draw of any class in the game, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, Divine Favor is really great if you find yourself sort of in a low draw or even top deck, you know, situation, mid to late game. Your opponent's got some cards on you, and you just decide, you know, I need to catch up. And honestly, if you can, you know, blow this card, you know, and get at least 2 cards or so for it, it's kind of paying for itself at that point. It's pretty close.
Absolutely.
If you get 3 cards or more, it's absolutely worth it in every way. You know, because comparing it to, you know, Arcane Intellect from the Mage, you know, which also costs 3 mana and just draws you 2 cards, you know?
Right.
This could draw you a lot more than that if you get seriously behind on card advantage. Really, really strong card, especially versus a Warlock, since they tend to just, you know, pepper their hand full of cards at all times. So
yeah, and Priest.
I like that one. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so.
Acolyte of Pain. This is an excellent card draw, a 1/3. Draw a card every time he's damaged. You usually get about 2 cards if you're lucky. It kind of depends. It's situational.
Absolutely, yeah, as is many cards in this game, of course. The Acolyte is a great buff target. You know, if you can pop its damage up or certainly its health, then you can get a lot more utility out of the card. It's not the most offensive thing in the world, obviously, but that's not what it's for. You know, but if you can get some health onto this guy, maybe put some taunt on it as well, it's hilarious at that point.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, because your opponent just has to keep giving you cards unless, of course, they silence it. But that's less and less prevalent in today's meta, at least I've noticed. So after Acolyte of Pain, one of my favorites, Outdoor Peacekeeper. Love this card.
one of the best Paladin class cards. I mean, it really is so strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you get the nice body there for 3 mana. I only have 1, but that's because that's all I had right now in my collection when I built this deck. But otherwise, I would have 2. I think we're going to show 2 in your deck a little bit later.
Yeah.
But this card is beautiful for just turning down a minion. And I'll tell you, the absolute best target in the world for this card, in my opinion, is Venture Co. Mercenary. If someone plays the Venture Co., which is a 7/6 that makes, you know, the controller's minions cost 3 more.
Oh, fantastic.
Turn that thing down to 1 attack, and it just sits there forever, making your opponent's minions cost more. So if anybody plays that card against you, this is the answer if you're a Paladin. Fantastic card.
Yeah. Another awesome card in general, not only in Constructed but Arena, is the Harvest Golem. It's a 2/3 with the Death Rattle to summon a 2/1. It trades really well for that. It's a good early drop creature, and it's just fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, Harvest Golem is pretty much welcome in any deck all the time. Next up, Shattered Sun Cleric. Everybody has access to this card. A little bit weaker since the nerf. That used to be a 3/3, now it's a 3/2. But still, the 1/1 buff is undeniably good, and again, changes that math when people are setting up what they think is going to be a nice trade, and all of a sudden you get to keep your creature because you buffed it with this card. So really nice. We like that one a lot.
Yeah. Everybody's personal favorite, even a lot of the streamers, True Silver Champion is a staple of any Paladin deck.
Absolutely.
4/2 weapon, heals you for 2 when you swing. It's everything a weapon should be and more.
Yeah, the only thing that would make this thing better is if it had more durability, but then I think it would just be too OP. I mean, it's really, really a strong card.
Yeah, great for removal, great for just whacking your opponent in the face.
Yeah, if you have to as a finisher, really, really nice. So, up next, Blessing of Kings. You don't find this in every Paladin deck. I mean, it's kind of situational. You know, it's a +4/+4 for 4, and if in essence it's kind of a 4/4 charge for 4, which is neat. But of course the caveat is it has to have a target on the board already. So this is one of those great Paladin buff cards, but you never want to cast it on something before it's able to act. You always want to have something on board that lives and then bless it and then do something with it that turn. But it can be great surprise damage. It can be, of course, excellent for setting up favorable trades. And just a really nice card. I enjoy it a lot, and especially since I like to build my decks around screwing with people's math.
Yeah, it's a really strong buff card. I like it a lot more than like Attack of Might or whatever to give it plus.
Blessing of Might.
Yeah, Blessing of Might. Sorry.
Yeah. Definitely a strong card. And then next up, obviously, another staple of the Paladin is Consecration, right?
Yeah, this is really your only AoE in the Paladin deck, aside from like Avenging Wrath, but that's not really reliable AoE. This is, again, a staple of any Paladin deck. You need, in my opinion, you always need 2 of these because it's really your only AoE.
Yeah, it really is. But it does so much work, and it's just a fantastic card. Also damages the heroes. That's always nice, too, for that little extra burst damage. But definitely a staple. Next up, I do have a Hammer of Wrath in my deck. This is kind of a questionable one. You don't necessarily have to run this, but it is nice for quick 3 damage removal, and the card replaces itself, thanks to the draw card ability. So I just wanted to give it a whirl, and it's nice just to be able to pull that out and deal with a creature without necessarily having to have one of your own. And then after that, great basic card.
Yeah, Chill Wind Yeti. This card wins games. I mean,
yes,
it's a 4/5. Nothing special about it. But with the 4 damage, it makes it favorable for priests because they can't target it. And it's just a well-rounded creature. It feels valuable because it typically trades well, especially in the early game and even in the late game.
Yeah, I mean, Yetis are amazing. That 5 health is beautiful, and you're gonna do a lot of work with it. It's a really strong card, so definitely put them in there. And then after that, we come up to another one of my favorite just neutral minions, Dark Iron Dwarf. Carry a couple of them. This is another great card to craft if you don't have it yet. Buff of 2 attack to anything on the board. But the only caveat here is you have to have a friendly minion on the board. Otherwise, it'll force you to buff one of your opponent's minions, and that's kind of awful.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. But otherwise,
still a great card.
Yeah, it's a fantastic card. It's great in constructed and arena as well.
Absolutely. And then speaking of excellent cards,
your favorite, Defender of Argus. Is this?
Love you.
I was gonna say I thought this was one of your personal favorite cards. In
Absolutely.
The game. It is really strong. You give your guys to the left and right of you +1/+1 and taunt. I think this card has kind of been on the rise lately in popularity, but it's always been a good card.
Absolutely. Very, very strong and certainly great for adding some taunt to an otherwise tauntless deck. After that is Ye Olde Azure Drake. This is a fantastic card. You get a solid body plus the spell power plus, again, my personal favorite, replaces itself. You got to love that. Great card, and if you manage to get this out late game and have a Consecrate or something like that, then you can get even a 3 damage to everything, which can be really helpful. But really, it's just nice for a solid body and replacing itself in late game. I like the card a lot.
Yeah, the spell damage isn't so important in the Paladin class, but the spell damage is a lot nicer in, say, other more spell-dependent classes, but still a great card.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Stampeding Kodo, which is... this is an interesting card. I can't say I've always liked it a lot, but I think it works well in this deck.
Yeah, it can be nice. I mean, it doesn't always have a great target, but there are a lot of times when being able to just turn off a 2 damage minion is helpful. And I got the card, honestly, in a pack recently, and I've just been playing around with it, and it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it. If you don't want to run this, and just run Silverhand Knight, which is what I think you do. We'll see that here in a bit. But lastly, rounding out this deck is just the Ye Olde Boulderfist Ogre. Love the Boulderfist Ogre. Great card.
Yeah, it's nothing special, but it's just a fantastic, 6/7. It does work. The 7 health, it's very hard to remove that.
Absolutely. Really nice card, and that rounds out the budget deck, and I think we can move on to the high budget version. So we'll show you that next. Okay, guys, so starting things off for this deck, we'll begin here with Noble Sacrifice again. Same reason as before, just a fun secret card. We run 2 of them in this deck. But no reason to take it out. It's just a great card and trades well. So
yeah,
same reasons.
It's so versatile. That's why I put 2 in.
Absolutely.
Going on, this was a little bit of a hot topic debate here. The Holy Light card.
Yeah, I gave you some grief on this one, but
it really helped me. The reason I decided to put a little heal in is because there are so many rushdown decks. It really helps to have the ability to either heal yourself or a minion to make it last and survive longer. And it's only 2 mana for 6 health. That's not a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's, it seems like a couple of months ago, running any heal at all in a deck was considered kind of bad. And nowadays, though, it's actually a pretty reasonable proposition. So, no problem with this card. This is a good one to have. After that, we just have another couple ones that we had previously. The Acidic Swamp Ooze, again, just a solid 3/2 body, be able to destroy your opponent's weapon. No reason not to run this card in virtually any deck. it's just a solid card.
Yeah, we only have one of them here because we have other things in the deck we'll show you a little later on.
Yep. But before that, another one from the previous one, right? Argent Protector.
Yep, just a great card. You can give Divine Shield to any minion on the field. It messes with the maths.
That's it. That's the name of the game. So good to have one of those there. And then, of course, yes, again, 2 Fairy Dragons. I said it before. I'll say it again. Running in the budget decks, running in the high budget decks, this is just a solid card.
Just a fantastic card.
Yeah, and the same reason, especially for Paladins, goes for the next one.
Yep, Knife Juggler. Again, run one of these guys in my high budget deck. I love this card early game. Late game, it's not quite as useful, considering we have some more powerful things in this deck, but it's still a great card.
Still fantastic. And speaking of a really nice card, an epic card here, the Sword of Justice. This card is really, really fun, mainly not so much for its damage as a weapon, but of course for its buffing ability, that it goes ahead and, basically does a Shattered Sun Cleric buff on everything that you summon.
Yeah,
and talk about screwing with math,
It's fantastic if you can pair it with like an Imp Master, which we'll get to a little later. That's a great one because that summons a 1/1 Imp at the end of every turn, which then turns it into a 2/2. But even if you don't have that card, it's still fantastic if you have Noble Sack, because that turns it into a 3/2, or just your 1/1 token. It's just
your hero power.
Yeah, it's a fantastic card.
Yeah, really, really fun. Nice card. About the only thing I'd say about it else is just if you play it early, you are kind of giving up a little bit of tempo.
Absolutely.
You're not playing a creature on turn 3 and instead you play this. Sometimes that gives up a little bit too much board advantage and it takes a bit to recover. So just bear that in mind, when you're building your deck with this card. Next up is Divine Favor. Second, same reason as before. It's just a powerful, powerful draw if played in the right situation. That's what you want out of this card. Be able to catch up with your opponent, right?
Yeah, and I'm rocking, in this deck, moving on, going to Outdoor Peacekeeper, which I have 2 of these because why not? They're amazing.
Yeah, they're a fantastic card. If you manage to come across 2 of these guys, then go ahead and stick them in when you're playing Paladin. They really, really, really make favorable trading a easy proposition.
Absolutely.
So it's really nice. It overwrites anything on the card that says, it does this or whatever. It's going to change it to 1. I think the only target that's invalid for that I've seen is the Light Spawn, because Light Spawn's card text says its attack is always equal to its health or whatever.
Yeah, I've made that mistake before and found that out the hard way.
Yeah, so be careful about that, but otherwise that's a fantastic card. Moving on from there is Harvest Golem. Again, same reason from the budget deck. This is just an amazing card. It's almost always a 2-for-1. And you get it out on turn 3. If you can buff this sucker, it turns into a land beast. It's really, really nice. So, and then we were just talking about this card, the Imp Master, right?
Yeah, the Imp Master. This is a fantastic card. I put it in this deck because I like to pair it with the Sword of Justice. Obviously, due to card draw, that may not always happen, but it's still good value because it consistently summons imps, and a lot of people will try to target this card and get it out of the way.
Absolutely. Yep. So really, really nice, especially in Paladin. Next up, Shattered Sun Cleric. We only got one of them here, but still it's excellent. And for when you don't have your Sword of Justice and you want to give something a +1/+1, there you go. Shattered Sun. Why not? And then after that, of course, True Silver.
Yep.
Got to run too.
It's a staple of every Paladin deck. It's a good weapon.
It's amazing. Just run them. They're excellent. After that, just 1 Blessing of Kings for this one.
Yep.
But again, same reasons. It's just a fantastic card. It can put on some great buffs at an opportune moment. So nice to have. And then absolutely staple 2 copies in every deck is Consecration.
Yep, your standard Paladin AoE, really, really handy, and
super necessary.
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary. Moving on, we have the Hammer of Wrath. It's just some solid removal. It does 3 damage, draws you a card. It's 4 mana cost, so it's kind of high. That's why I only have 1.
Yeah, and it's debatable whether to even put this in, but I've been running it and you've been running it and it's been working out, so not a bad card. And speaking of not bad cards, again, my favorite neutral guy for 4 mana for sure, Yeti. So great.
Such value.
Such value. So hard to get rid of with just 1 card, especially at the 4 mana level. Really, really strong. So, and then of course also next couple cards are staple favorites too. Dark Iron, right?
Yeah, Dark Iron gives +2 to any minion on the field. any minion, not
Any minion, yeah, not just friendly. Again, yeah, make sure you have a friendly target before you pull him out, but otherwise he's very, very great.
Yeah,
And then, you know, of course, my personal favorite, Defender of Argus. Beautiful, beautiful card. Rare, but worth it, in my opinion.
absolutely. And moving on here, we have the Spellbreaker, which is a 4/3 with Silence. I like to run at least one Silence card in my deck just because it has some utility. Silence isn't as prevalent as it once was, but I still find uses for it.
Yep, exactly. It can still be great and not a bad card at all to run. After that, one of the absolute best common 5-drops, in my opinion, if not the best, the Silverhand Knight. This guy, you know, just you get 2 bodies. It's essentially, you know, what is it? So you get it's 6/6 worth of creatures, you know, for 5, which is great.
Yeah.
So
A 4/4
run it, have a great time, you know, and it's very excellent. Really nice target for a Defender of Argus, also. So pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And then after that, Avenging Wrath.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite cards because it has a couple different uses. If you're getting a lot of weenies on the field, Avenging Wrath is fantastic because while it is random, it does 8 points of damage, and that's huge. I've had it completely decimate a field and give me backboard advantage. Or if there are no minions, it just does 8 damage straight
8
up.
raw, straight to the damage, which is you'll notice is just two off a Pyroblast. So pretty sweet card. After that, we got a really popular card, Argent Commander. Charge, Divine Shield, 4 damage. You know, nerfed recently down to 2 health, but it still does its job, which is to hit something for 4 and still live. You know, really, really strong card. And, you know, a lot of times running 2 of these is a good idea even. So, but we wanted to make room for the big boys, right?
Yep, Ragnaros the Fire Lord. This is probably if you have this card, it should be a staple in every deck. It's an amazing card. It's an 8/8. But its caveat is it can't attack, but it does a random 8 damage fireball. It's just a great legendary.
Yeah, so if it gets silenced, it's still an 8/8. You know, of course, if it gets polyed or something, it's still dead. But so is everything else. So really, really solid card. And then lastly, rounding things out here is Tyrion Fordring. Probably the best class legendary in the game, you know, for reasons that you can see.
Yeah.
Just an amazing card. And if you've got him and you don't have him in your Paladin deck, you know, I'd want to know why. So with that, guys, that wraps it up for the Paladin here. Fantastic class. I'm having a lot of fun with this one. And be on the lookout soon, guys. We're going to do one of these covering every single class in Hearthstone. So hope you enjoy the series, and we'll see you soon.